Flight to do you read?
On the morning of August 14, 2005, Helios Flight 522 was preparing for a flight from Larnaca, Cyprus to Athens, Greece. At 9:07 a.m., the Boeing 737 took off with 115 passengers and 6 crew members. On board were a total of 121 people. The pilot was Hans-Jürgen Merten, a highly experienced German captain with over 16,000 flight hours. His co-pilot Pampus Charalambos also had over 7,000 hours of experience. It seemed like a normal routine flight, but just 15 minutes after takeoff, everything began to go wrong. At 9:12 a.m., as the plane reached 12,040 feet, a loud alarm suddenly rang in the cockpit. The pilots identified it as the takeoff configuration alarm. This was confusing because this alarm usually only goes off on the ground, not while the plane is in the air. While the pilots were trying to figure out the problem, a second alarm, the master cushion, went off. This indicated that several systems on the plane were starting to overheat. The pilots contacted air traffic control to explain the situation, but the communication was becoming difficult. Inside the cabin, the passengers were struggling to breathe. They realized there was a lack of oxygen. Suddenly, the emergency oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling automatically. At this point, the plane was at 18,000 feet. The pilots were still trying to talk to the control room, but soon, all contact was lost. The plane stopped responding to radio calls. ATC tried many times to reach the pilots, but there was only silence. The plane continued to climb higher and higher on autopilot. By 9:30 a.m., the plane reached its cruising altitude of 34,000 feet. It was flying toward Athens, but no one was answering the radio. This was now a ghost plane. Fearing a possible hijacking or a serious threat, the Greek Air Force sent 2 F-16 fighter jets to investigate. After some time, the F-16 pilots caught up with the Helios flight. What they saw through the windows was chilling and mysterious. The F-16 pilots moved closer to the cockpit. They saw the co-pilot slumped over, unconscious. The captain's seat was empty. They looked into the passenger's cabin and saw the passengers were sitting still. But they were unresponsive. No one was moving, even though the fighter jets were right outside their windows. Then, at 11:49 a.m., the F-16 pilots saw a man enter the cockpit. He sat in the pilot's seat and grabbed the controls. The man was Andreas Perdomo, a flight attendant. He was also a trained scuba diver, which helped him stay conscious longer than others despite the lack of oxygen. Andreas tried to signal the F-16 pilots and called Mayday 5 times, but his radio was on the wrong frequency. Suddenly, the left engine stopped working because it ran out of fuel. The plane began to tilt and drop. A few minutes later, the right engine failed as well. Andreas had lost all control of the massive Boeing 737. At 12:04 p.m., the plane crashed into a mountain near Grammatiko, just 40 kilometers from Athens. Everyone on board died instantly. The investigation later revealed a shocking truth. A day before the flight, engineers had set the pressurization switch to manual during a test. They forgot to set it back to auto. The pilots missed this during their pre-flight checks. Because it was in manual, the plane didn't pump oxygen as it climbed, causing everyone to lose consciousness from hypoxia. A tiny switch caused one of the biggest tragedies in aviation history. The tragedy of Helios Flight 522 remains a haunting reminder of how a single tiny switch can change the fate of hundreds. If you found this deep dive insightful, please hit the like button and share this story. For more investigations into the mysteries of the sky and beyond, make sure to subscribe to ShadowNavik. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.